Hi, I'm Mark Cleghorn. Welcome to the Photographer Academy, and today we're talking about using equipment that you've already got and kind of just giving yourself some ideas and a little bit more kind of creativity without any cost at all. We're predominantly speaking about this beauty, a softbox, but using it in a different way. We're going to be looking at using the egg crates with hard light. We're going to be using some strips with some hard light. And then we're going to show you the different effect when we start to actually use the diffusion layers in a normal way. Just to give you an idea of what we're kind of laying up for, as it were, we've got a sexy guy in today. Sam, he's a new model for us, never photographed him before, doing a small little mini series on Academy for you. I know you've kind of watched all our kind of videos up until now, I'm sure. What I've done, though, is set up a small three-sided studio. Yeah, you're used to the white wall. You're used to coloured backdrops that kind of come down on the one side. But what I've put in is another paper background. We just put it on a background support. Very simple to do. We've put a little bit of tape in behind here to almost give us a kind of a fine line and a join and things really. But, we've got the checkered floor, of course. All right, but it's not about that. It is all about this today, okay? And what we're looking to do is actually show you and encourage you to actually use the equipment that you already have and look at it in being used in a slightly different way. So straight away, though, let's work close to the background. Let's bring Wonder Sam in for me. Come on in, bud. Welcome to the Academy. He's a virgin with us, so it's the first time. Great looking guy, tall, so, you know, possibly the step stool's going to come in a little bit. But really all we're looking at is the effect of the almost dappled light that we're seeing on him. Let's do a quick shot, shall we? So let's meter straight away. As far as let's take the test shot. And I know that exposure is wrong. I know, because I metered it beforehand, and I wanted to show you why I don't rely on just the back of the camera to actually reset things up. It takes you literally seconds, when your meter's on, that is, all right, to just kind of come up and basically meter the one light source. That's what I'm trying to do here. Now, that's showing 4.09. That is technically 5.6. So if I increase that power by just 1/10, yes, and now I change from what was my working aperture of f4 to 5.6. Pretty much we're going to get our image straight away. Now, I'm only shooting, or the idea is to shoot with the one light. As it is, as you can see from here, we've got the main light going on to Sam. That's our key light. There's also a strip box running on the right-hand side. We definitely don't need that yet. All right, and I've got a strip box running from above in the horizontal strip, and I really don't need that yet. So technically, I can just from the kind of the trigger, just go to group 1. Let's just see what it's going to do. So let's just do the shot. It means that the other lights are not going to fire, just my key light. Now, I mentioned to you, we've just got that egg crate, and what we can see here, this fantastic dappled light pattern, just on the actual purple background there. By the way, I choose a purple background, because in black and white photography, pretty much purple isn't within the skin tone, not unless you're as cold as I am. But basically, you can usually kind of go in and adjust it in the HSL without any trouble. So what we're looking at, though, is the kind of the gridded pattern. We're going to pay notice as well to the shadow. And the reason we're going to pay notice to the shadow is because some of you will like it and some of you will hate it. The whole point of photography is I shoot the way I like to, you shoot the way you like to, and you mix all these things together and you come up with what is right for one another and things really. The next thing is to the height of the light. Now, if you've got a small studio space, taking the light up higher to kind of drop this shadow down is going to be difficult. If that's the case, obviously you work to the height that you have. As it is, I've got a high studio anyway, some as you know. And so I want to kind of push that nose shadow going down towards the lip. So let's do the same shot. I've just moved the light source. Because we're using a grid, it is a directional light. But what have we got? We've got the pattern here, perfect exposure. We've got the shadow, which is strong because the light is directed at him. And then obviously we've got this kind of gradient light kind of going across. So from there, it doesn't matter what we're doing. If I want to kind of have a dramatic effect, Sam, if you come right up to me, bud. Perfect. So once more, around about the 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock position with the light in, as long as I keep the distance of the light same towards Sam, then pretty much we've got control. Let's just change the focus point in a minute. And now, because we're further away from the background is going to go pretty dark. It's at this point I really need to add in my strip boxes. So let's go from just firing the key light to firing all lights, okay? This will kind of add the separation. Just go in close for you to see a minute. But you can see how we've got separation light coming down the side of the left hand and from the right hand side because we've got them there. Now, I don't think we actually need this 2 o'clock light running. So in fact, I'm just going to go to the plug point. I'm going to switch it off. And so the maximum we are going to see today is a 2 light kind of mix-up. But really what we're trying to achieve is minimizing. Already, if I just kind of do that same shot, I'm just going to shoot it in the vertical, all right? But if I do the same shot with both of the lights running, we know that the 11 o'clock highlight in the strip box is separating, but it's also adding some light to the background. If I just go to the group 1, which just fires the actual key light itself, we're going to have an instantly much darker and blacker image. We're still going to have some shadow no matter what, because obviously the direction of the light is still allowing the light to actually fall behind. So we only get shadow because it's not illuminated. And if you stand something in front of light, it's going to throw a shadow behind. So you've either got to actually move the light source or you've got to illuminate the background. Quick as that. So really what we're playing around with is a little bit more drama. Right, Sam, let's go back again, can we, bud? Let's concentrate on the main thing today, which is the difference of quality of light that this little thing is going to do. Okay, so remember what we're going to do is now just shoot with this one light source. I'm going to pretty much keep to the horizontal the whole time, and we're just going to change its quality. So that is the light now with just the honeycomb grid. Okay, so I'll just shoot that for you so you can see it. Let's remember that's what it was like. Okay, that is the only thing that is going on. What are we going to do next? Let's change its characteristic once more. Let's still keep it sharp, but we'll remove the grid. Okay, that's gone. And we're going to use some little material strips to go onto the softbox itself. Let's go horizontal to begin with. And this is a kit, in fact, that we kind of got years ago. However, since we first kind of began to play around with the materials on these soft boxes, we've gone ahead and actually kind of created our own kind of strips and so on. Once we start to put more and more of these on, we will have to actually readjust them. As I mentioned, this is just a little bit of a strip kit from Last Light, but again, you can make your own, of course. Let's put the last one on. Yeah, I'm just going to move that one up, move that one as well. So if I'd started with this one, it'd been a lot quicker. Okay, let's do it. So now we can see that much more of a kind of a Venetian effect. So remember, the meter that I'm using here is telling the light to trigger, okay, to actually expose. Let's do it again. So we've got f4.9, 1/10 of a stop. Will bring us back to our 5.6. So this is the strip now, okay? So let's see the effect on the background. Obviously, the darker the background, the more it's going to absorb the light. It's going to give you a bigger effect and things really. And that looks pretty good. Isn't it weird, though, that the stripes doesn't really affect the face at all with it? It kind of allows in that little bit of reflectancy. So let me just show you the front of that one so we can remember what it looks like, okay? So once more, that is something that we can do with a softbox. Even if we got no budget at all, we can stick something in front of it. The bonus of this light, softbox I should say, is that it has a silver interior. Now the silver interior, of course, allows a much quicker concentrated light. So it focuses it in more than a white box. That would allow it to kind of diffuse across. Let's just put these on. DTD. Now these are just Velcro in. This is a part of the box anyway. Let's get it back into our height. We've got to meter it, of course. Why? Because we know it's pretty much going to lose a good stop now. So let's meter once more. F4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I can put it up in power. If I couldn't put it up in power, I could just put the ISO up or change my working aperture. So now we're going to see a softer rendition across the actual shadow. So it's still there, the shadow, because Sam is very, very close to the background no matter what. And we're just kind of really looking at what it's doing. So remember, this is just the one layer of diffusion, and that is giving us a softer quality of light. Now, when we buy softboxes, we spend all this money on lighting. Sorry to ignore you, Sam, for a minute. You know I'm teaching. When we're kind of buying this kit, most of the time when it comes with 2 layers of diffusion, the first thing in your head, of course, is you're thinking, well, I have to use it with 2 layers of diffusion all the time. That is probably the biggest mistake that we can make as photographers when we're learning our craft and we have no budget. And there's even some professionals that I know that have got no budget, I promise you. Yeah? But when we're kind of learning our craft and we're beginning to look at what to buy, the first thing I usually tell you all, let me just meter that, sorry, it's F4 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So each one of those lost us a stop. Can I just say that when we're putting the diffusion material on, yeah? So let's do the same thing. Now we're expecting a softer kind of diffusion across the background again, and as well as the softer diffusion coming across Sam's face and things. You can see, even though we're using it as a directional light source, we're creating a kind of quite a beautiful light and things, really. And what that is doing, take a photograph of the front, Mark. That's for the next book. It's not really. I haven't got time to write a book anymore. If you don't make enough money out of the first 4 books, stop writing books. That's my idea. Yeah, so we got that double diffusion of light and things, really, and it gives us that soft kind of diffusion across the image. So again, this is probably where many of you are going to kind of stop. You're going to forget to take things off, and that's really what we're trying to do. So the last part of this softbox, we know we've already shot with it, but of course we haven't shot without, we haven't shot it as far as the grid is concerned, or the egg crate is concerned. So let's finally put in our last part of the softbox itself. Now, probably this is the hardest part to create yourself, is the egg crate. And if you can afford to buy a softbox with 2 layers of diffusion and an egg crate included, photics do a great kind of range, like Lasterlight do as well. Photics are more of an umbrella style. These take a little bit more kind of pop-up kind of putting together. But this now has to be directed at the subject. We cannot feather it because it's like a honeycomb. It is directing that light straight to the client, and it is not allowing it to spill in any way. So it will control the light more because it's material. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that lost another 6/10 of a stop. So we need to increase it by 6/10. Because the material, let's do it. It's obviously going to allow it to kind of just move a little bit more, but now it's more of a concentrated, a slightly sharper light. So let's just take a photograph of that one, just so we can remember that we've kind of got the grid on. Now, when we start to make the decision as photographers, what is right for us, you have to go back to your gut. You have to go, do I like a sharper light? If so, use a smaller light source with less diffusion. If you like a harder light, like myself, you want to actually kind of strip as much of the diffusion off and basically control it with the likes of barn doors, grids, or the likes of. If you love soft light, so for more fine art kind of level and so on, big soft boxes, big softness as well, so kind of 2 layers, and then allow it to actually kind of work across the whole kind of image. So in other words, instead of directing the light at the subject directly, feather it. What do I mean by feathering? So before we just get going with the shoot, I'm just going to take off. In fact, no, let's, we've just shot that with the direction. What I'll do is I'll just move it to the feather so you can see the dramatic of what it is. to be fair, to be a controlled test, I should point it at him first. Okay, so I'll shoot the wide so you can see it's directional and there's only one light going off. Yeah. You can see how controlling that light is. Let's move in close now and just shoot the 3/4 length. We can see the dynamic and the concentrated light that we've got. If I turn the light, though, to what we refer as a feather, so this is where it would usually wash across the subject, we've got a couple of problems here. First problem is because it's a grid, it can't feather. So as soon as I turn the light across, it doesn't matter even if I increase the exposure with it, we're really not going to get enough light. The only way for me to get the real quality of light onto him is to point him directly the light at him, because if we don't, it's just going to be muddy. Now, feathering. Once I remove this egg crate material, that is going to allow the light to spill, and it's going to wrap around to this side. And I mentioned there was two problems. That's gone up to 5.6.6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down in tenths. It's got two problems. One, there's a green background on the opposite side. And if he was very, very close to this background, you would have a green reflectancy coming back in. And I bet if you were to go in close in here, you would see a slight tonality on the... In fact, I can see it. I'm not sure how clean that is on the screen, but you can actually see the reflectancy. So if I had to shoot feather, it's not Einstein stuff, is it really? Move the light to the other side, and there's a white wall. Okay, so now it's not going to add the actual kind of grey effect with it. Let's just fully feather it. So feather just means that it's kind of bouncing off the edges of the softbox, using all the kind of material to give it a little bit more of a softer light source. So there, of course, because it doesn't bounce off anything coloured, we haven't got a problem with it at all. But as far as the look and the feel, the whole point of this film was to allow us to completely change the dynamic of a softbox by changing what we either take off and what we put on. The only level of problem as far as your creativity is concerned is a bit of perseverance with the product, and then trying to actually find out what is right for you to make sure it fits in with the kind of the type of styling that you do for photography. Remembering, again, I know some of you will just shoot on the back of the camera, and you'll basically, once you've metered it, you'll then look on the back of the camera and you'll make a guess adjustment. The way I work is basically meter it once, back to your working aperture, he says. Just lose the power of it. And then we're back to square one again. We can absolutely guarantee the image. And that, I hope, is a bit of an inspiration film for you of actually thinking about the kit that you have today and what you can do dramatically to actually change the look and the feel. Hope you enjoyed the film. See you next time. Bye-bye.